So people who are picking on other people. So I'm going to show you that that's not okay.
Welcome to another episode of Cosmic Chat. Hi, we're here with Asia Chardonay, a wonderful comic in Los Angeles. But today she's opening up about how she became the childhood bully and what happened to her that she actually was able to unwind that thought process and stop becoming the typical bully. So how would you describe the taste of a banana to someone who's never eaten one?
That is a good question. It's mushy, but the taste itself, sweet if you get a nice ripe banana. Like, you know, some people like green bananas. That's not right. So if you get a nice banana, you know, it should have a sweet taste. Like I said, soft sweet taste, because it's not an overpowering sweet taste. Very soft, subtle. Taste it in the back of the throat more so than the front of the tongue. And mushy, soft in texture. But if you get a green banana, it could be a little tart, a little tangy on the side of the jaw. Like, you know, that's not a ripe banana. You don't want to do that. But that is an interesting question. That's
do you ever have like Sour Patch Kids
with a banana or
just any of them? Do you like sour?
I love sour, yes, but not in the banana. Yeah, but I love sour stuff.
How old were you when you remember having your first banana?
I would at least say 5. In kindergarten rings a bell for me. Kindergarten, you know, or maybe even preschool. That I'm thinking about it, but it came from a school lunch as opposed to. I'm not recalling a banana like from home, like eating it at home all the time. Not until like older that I can remember that, but definitely pre-K or kindergarten. Yeah.
And when do you remember having your first existential life crisis as a child?
Ooh. Crisis as a child. Well, I was young, so it's probably like 5 or 6, because again, there's some things that
the banana, really.
You said, yeah, exactly. Same time as the banana. Yes. Now that you put that together, or maybe I blocked off so much that I only remember from kindergarten. I don't know, but I would say, yeah, about 5 or 6. Yeah.
All right. And what happened?
Ooh, well, you know, I've said not try to be funny, but I was touched as a kid. So that would be the trauma, but it was from it started with other kids. That was other kids. Yes. Like, it's so crazy because I tell this as a joke, but in my area, and a lot of people know about the game house. Like, you play house as a kid. I didn't like playing house, because if you play house as a kid, somebody's going to get, you know, touched. So I used to want to be.
Just for those who don't know, it is a game that children play where they're acting out familiar roles.
Exactly. As adults, as parents. So generally there's going to be a mom, a dad, the kids. I used to opt for the dog because I thought that was going to be my way out to not get touched. So I wanted to be the dog, but then there was always a boy dog. So like you could never escape. Yeah, exactly what you're thinking is exactly what happened. So yes,
let's track back so we get this right. So you were playing house, or you didn't want to play house?
No, I didn't want to play house because I knew what comes with the territory of playing house.
And that was because of the reflection of your own household or the people who you were playing with?
The people that I was playing with. Yes. Yeah.
And you were playing at school, not people in the household?
No, not people in the household, but not neighborhood kids. Neighborhood kids.
Neighborhood kids. And you were already touched in your own household, but you didn't want to play house with other kids because it had happened to them?
I'm assuming it happened to them, but I didn't get touched in my household.
Oh,
it was
okay.
Again, the outside kids, that's it. Yeah.
The outside kids were, and then they were reenacting it out.
Exactly.
Okay, so you had played a few times and then thought, if I play the dog, I'm gonna be okay.
I thought I got clever with it. Yeah, I thought I was getting clever with it. Not so clever. Yeah.
And it was not an option for you to choose not to play the game.
Well, you could play the game, but then as a kid, you feel like you're getting left out. It's the feeling of being left out.
And you didn't want to be different within your neighborhood, and you were wanting to play the game. So you were trying to find a way to be accepted, but keep yourself safe. Was there one particular person, of course you don't have to say their name, that was always who you were trying to avoid, or was it a bunch of people?
It was like a group of boys that we grew up with, that grew up in the neighborhood. Like, that would be the group that I was supposed to probably stay away from. But again, kids in the neighborhood, these neighborhood kids, And when you're young, you're thinking these are friends.
Were they older than you?
Oh yeah, a few years older. Yeah.
So you were maybe what, 5 or 6?
Yeah, 5 or 6. So they like 8, 9, something like that. Some of them 7, 8.
And 9. And so there was never a discussion with anyone else or even your family about, I don't want to play with those kids, I feel uncomfortable.
Oh yes. Well, at one point, but on the not being exactly forthright about why I didn't want to play.
Right. And that was with them or with parental figures? With
parents, with parents.
And that was your fear around that, was because if they knew the truth, they wouldn't be able to keep it quiet, or you'd get shut down, or?
No, probably. Probably they would all get it. Everybody would get in trouble. I'm pretty confident the way my household was, everybody would get in trouble. Yeah.
And you were just wanting to avoid that altogether.
Yeah.
So you were adapting to work around a situation rather than speak up, even though you inside you were like, this is not cool.
Yes. Ooh, yes. I will say yes. Which is, you touching on something, Paula, because
don't tell me I'm touching people on this chat.
I said you were touching something, not somebody.
Oh, okay, good. Touching the heart. So how many years did you avoid this game?
Oh, after about like 6 and 7, it changed quite a bit because I went through a growth spurt. So I was always like the bigger kid, but like I truly became the bigger kid. So it's like, now I don't have to, I don't have to do this. I don't have to do this. So probably about like 8, we stopped all of that.
So they then were intimidated physically by you.
Oh yes, that was yes, absolutely. Yeah.
And how did you use that physicality were you with friends and you would use it in a positive way to protect them, or did you always use it on the defensive?
A little bit of both, a little bit of both. So at one point, going from the person getting picked on and all this different stuff to the person, at one point I was the bully. I became a bully real quick. Yeah.
And you bullied people who had previously bullied you?
Oh yeah.
That was your target base, or was it for you to just be a bully?
All of the above. All of the above. All of the above.
So you then became the kid that you were concerned that your parents would say, don't become this kid. Don't you?
Oh yeah. Oh yeah. Like I was from a kid up until like high school, I was very much that bully. Hurt people though, hurt
Right.
people hurt people.
Right. So you took the bully role, and that was based a lot of your physicality. Did you also use your words?
Oh yes, I got good because not only did I have a growth spurt where I was tall, but I was always the big kid. So I always got picked on. Always got picked on. So thick in my skin, like I had tough skin, but you had to be able to like be quick witty, quick witted, So I was able to my rebuttals got, better and better. I got a little bit more clever and quicker with my rebuttals.
And as you went through high school, did you also continue with academic studies, or was that at the wayside?
Oh no, yeah, my mama didn't play that. She didn't play. Yes, you have to make good grades. What? I was so like, even like in middle school, I fell off the wagon a little bit, like my freshman year in high school, just because it was a change of scenery, change of pace. But my mother did not play that. I was the kid that was sad about getting honorable mention. Like, honorable mention is for peasants. I want high honor roll or honor roll,
That's an interesting combination, because often bullies are not the strong academics in the social construct of school, right? They're in a different world, or they're in the sports realm, right? So you were academically doing or excelling,
Yes.
and you were physically bigger, and verbally you responded.
Yes.
And when did this start to change?
Change from like as far as the bullying?
Yeah.
Probably I would say I can identify it senior year, my senior year in high school. Not that I changed the bullying per se, but more so change who it was targeted to. So it wasn't like an all around anybody could get it. It was more so the people who are picking on other people. So I'm going to show you that that's not okay.
So you became more discerning and were using your, we'll say, capacities for the better good.
Oh, yes. I can actually remember this girl senior year. She wrote she did an English project about me, dedicated it to me, because I had came to her aid, like a group. She had like what I would assume, or what we would assume, Tourette's, because she would just have random outbursts and like twitches. Like she had a tick and or twitch or tick, I think it was called. And these people would talk about it. We had I was in health occupations, a class called health occupations. So when you graduated, you would be a certified nurse's aide. And I was in this class, and these young ladies would just go in on her. They would just, because it was clearly that she couldn't control it. So, I let them have it. And she really appreciated that, of course, because she didn't have I won't say she didn't have it, but maybe she didn't feel comfortable with standing up for herself because of her condition.
So did you become friends?
Oh yeah, we was cool. Yeah, we were cool. Yeah.
So
we had an English class together. So yeah.
Did other people then start to come forward for your assistance after that?
Nah, not the teacher. The teacher. Nah.
No, I mean other people in school, students.
Yeah, the teacher. The teacher.
Oh, the teacher. Oh, okay. I thought you said not the teacher. Sorry.
No, the teacher. Yeah, only the teacher.
Oh, what did they say or ask? What was the ask?
Oh, they more so just addressed the whole situation with the girls, separating them from her and moving seats. Very small measures, but that's not the only person that came to the aid outside of myself.
Okay, so it was a group effort. And then you moved from school, and then did you go to college or did you go into work?
I did some college, and yes, I did work because, again, right out of high school, I would be I was to become a certified nurse's aide. So I did that. Not my line of work at all.
And
so,
that is because what did you discover?
It's disgusting. It's like, it is disgusting. I wouldn't call it a nurse's aide, but yeah, it's it's not my field. I don't like cleaning and wiping behinds, you know.
Right. So how would you then say this bully became more discerning and you had an experience of helping someone having that position, then through the next few years after school, how did that shift, or how did that form for you to be a productive member of society?
Well, I think I'm a little bit more considerate of people's feelings. Not even a little bit more. I am absolutely more considerate of people's feelings. So I'm not so quick to, when I was younger, it was literally from here to here. What I thought came out of my mouth. There was zero filtration, any of that. So now I'm much better. Like I care about if I hurt someone's feelings with what I say, as opposed to when I was younger, I didn't.
Now, was there a event that really made you shift this, or was it gradual?
I would say it was just a gradual situation, just eventually, like, yeah, gradual, because I'm not the same consideration that I had when I was like 25 is not the same consideration that I have now. I'm much more considerate than I was at 25, but even at 25, I was much more considerate than I was when I was a teenager, you know.
So you would say it was more maturity versus any external event that influenced it?
Oh, absolutely. Absolutely.
Now, you were raised where?
In Indianapolis, Indiana.
Indianapolis. And how old were you when you moved to Los Angeles?
30.
30.
One.
And how did you?
No.
So 31.
No, 30. I was 30.
Okay. So maturity had happened. How did you find with who you were when you arrived in Los Angeles, people's perceptions of you were different versus where you had been in your community before and established?
As far as what people's perception of me,
what did you observe? Did you observe a culture difference with how people
Oh, absolutely. A culture. Oh, there's a huge culture difference between Indianapolis and Los Angeles. I realized I'm not as much of a city girl as I thought I was. Like Indianapolis is considered a city, but it's nothing compared to Los Angeles. It's much faster. Like Indianapolis, the nickname for Indianapolis is Nap Town. Like, because we take naps. That's what that's for. Because it's slow paced city. Mm-hmm. So it's a big difference just in terms of the activities that go on here, you know. But being in Los Angeles, like, I mean, and I guess I won't say it's a huge difference from Indianapolis in terms of how I am perceived, because I'm a big girl. I'm 6 foot tall. I'm a big girl. I'm a heavy set girl. So I can be perceived as a lot of different ways in terms of like intimidating or, you know, me, like all the bad things that you can think of. They're lazy. There's people's perceptions, you know, it's a wide range of perceptions for when you're a larger girl and things like that. But
let's go over them, because some people won't realize that they even have them, right? Because only until we walk in someone else's shoes do we actually get to experience, whoa, right? So you're intimidating physically, you're tall and you're broader, right? What other elements? People were scared.
And I won't say that I'm intimidating, but again, people's perception of me could,
your experience of how people treat you is what I'm asking.
Right. Yeah. Intimidating, maybe not intelligent, so a lack of intelligence.
Kind of like the giant syndrome, like the big friendly giant, but not smart.
Yeah, absolutely.
Right? Like people,
absolutely.
Shaquille O'Neal is huge, but has a PhD.
Right.
More than one maybe, but no one would have thought, because he played sports and because of his size. Right. And also his speech. Right. So that's that perception. So there's that element coming in. What other ones did you experience?
Well, also outside of, you know, my height, my stature, just me being a Black woman. So like just being Black, you know, that's intimidating. My skin tone is intimidating all on its own outside of, you know, my physique.
Okay, so let's break that down for people who don't even think that that's a real thing. And again, we're going to your experience. Oh,
right.
No, people don't think it's a thing. So this is why it's so helpful, right? Because that seems crazy to you because you live in what you live in, right?
Right.
And so physically, you have the experience that if you were not that color, even though you would be maybe the same height and stature, you would not have the following experiences, which are what, for example?
Absolutely. Oh, well, perfect example. I definitely had another I guess traumatic situation in my life when I was 10. Now, if the same thing happened to me now, like in 2021, it would be all over the news. But when I was 10, because again, I've always been tall and I've always been heavier. So when I was 10 years old, I was like 5'7". You know, so I was a larger child. And I'll never forget, I walked to a friend's house. It was like literally maybe 2 blocks from my house. My friend wasn't able to come outside, so I was going to walk back. The police stopped me. It was 2 police cars. They stopped me. They asked me what my name was. So I said Asia. They asked me what my whole name was. Asia Chardonay Gillespie is my name. They asked me when my birth date was. I said June. And then they said, I said June 27th. That's what I said. And then they asked me what year. And I said, because at this point, I'm nervous. They stopped me. They're asking me all of these questions. And it's like 3 police officers, 2 cars, but like 3 police officers, all men, no women. So I'm scared. So I said, and the second I said, they said cuff her. And they put me in handcuffs. I had on, I remember like it was yesterday. I had what's called micro braids. So it's like little skinny braids in a ponytail. I had on a hoodie, like a hoodie outfit, a blue hoodie outfit. And they put me in handcuffs. They searched my hoodie pocket and they searched my side pockets. It was by the grace of God that my auntie and uncle, they were going to pick up my stepdad from work. And I had just happened to see them they were about to turn the corner. And I said, that's my aunt and uncle. They can tell you who I am. And at 10 years old, I was so scared that my auntie and uncle were not going to remember what year I was born. Not the fact that they would know all the other information and the police would be able to use that, and to corroborate my story. But the fact that I'm thinking like, please don't forget the year that I was born so I can get out of these handcuffs. That was probably, I would say that was more traumatic for me than the touching. Far more traumatic for me because that's created a very negative. I do not have a good relationship or positive relationship with the police or authority for that matter.
Let's look at the response of your aunt and uncle. When they saw what was happening, how did they respond? Did you see fear in their eyes?
Honestly, I can't recall if I could see fear because my only thought was, again, please don't get the information wrong. They were not as reactive as my mother was. My mother was extremely reactive. She contacted the mayor. She wrote, and this is before emails and so, you know, the internet was really big. So she's writing letters, handwritten letters to the mayor, which, I mean, it didn't really do anything. The most that they did is they sent the sergeant, which is not even the person who harassed me or the cops that harassed me. They sent the sergeant to my house to apologize, but that didn't do anything, not for my trauma. I ended up having to go to therapy for that because I was so, you know, a kid being stopped by the police. And they told my mom that they thought I was a 14-year-old runaway, but they never showed my mom the picture of the kid. They never showed anything. They just told her that they thought I was a 14-year-old runaway.
And the question lies, a 14-year-old runaway, unless they were looking for someone who'd done any crime, and now I'd be in handcuffs, why would they be put in handcuffs?
Right. A child at that. A child.
Right,
Now,
right.
yeah.
So that's your direct experience, right? And so in Los Angeles, did you find it was even more obvious, the differences with your size and your color of your skin with the experiences versus back home?
With the police, oh my goodness, no, the police, the LAPD, they don't give a damn. They don't care out here. You could do a U-turn in the middle of the freeway and they will do nothing. Indianapolis police is way worse. Like LAPD, my skin color doesn't seem to matter. What I have not been pulled over since I've been here. I've been stopped by the police once, and that was for jaywalking in Glendale. But that was like, they let me go and they stopped. But we had a conversation about it and that was it. But outside of that, the police don't bother me. In Indianapolis, I have a ton of run-ins with the police, and I'm not a criminal, but I have a ton, and it's all racial profiling. Everything is racial profiling.
And racial profiling, do you at this moment believe it could be related to the fact that you are so tall and with your physique from behind, they think you're male?
Absolutely. And the type of car that I drive back home also is profiled. So I drive what we call old schools, which it's a 1985 Buick LeSabre coupe, might I add. It's a coupe, might I add. But so they think I'm like a drug dealer, and because of my physique, absolutely, they profile me. They stop me all the time. I used to work in an area that's a suburban area right outside of Indianapolis, and it was 4 miles from my house. So 4 miles. I lived in a really nice area as well, and my job was 4 miles. That 4 miles was the scariest 4 miles to drive from work to home or home to work every day, just because it was one time I got stopped by the police twice on my lunch break. On a 1 hour lunch break, I got stopped twice by the police in that area. So that's 5 times in a week that week.
That's extremely stressful. So how do you cope with stress?
I'm in therapy. I do have therapy. I have a therapist.
To help with the mind, right? And the historic events that have occurred that now create a fight or flight response in order to protect you moving forward, but can actually create more heightened stress.
Yes. Doing comedy absolutely makes me feel better. Making people laugh absolutely makes me feel better. I'm far less stressed after a show. I'm far less stressed.
And right before a show, before you go on, do you do anything to ground yourself, whether it's breathing or centering or looking at your set list? What do you do to help yourself when you've got to go somewhere and you're on, right? There's an audience there, it's happening.
I like to not talk to anybody. I am so antisocial. I almost think people think I'm mean or like very distant in the beginning. And it's not until after my set that I will speak to people. It's kind of like a superstition, honestly. Like I prefer not to mingle and hang out. I don't like to be funny before my sets. I don't like to make people laugh before then. I just stay to myself, chill out, and that's it.
So it's a form of going inward. You're going inward to reflect and connect so that when you're able to be there in the present moment, you can be present. The mind isn't distracted with that. And one of the things that we have with a nonprofit is we go into underrepresented groups to teach a form of meditation, which is a self-sufficient technique that can give the physiology 2 to 5 times more deep rest in one meditation than 8 hours of sleep, mainly because you're not actually sleeping for 8 hours. The mind is so busy, right? It's help with PTSD, help with trauma, because when someone is subject to trauma, and let's simply be honest, nowadays, everyone has something, right? This is our uniting force. And when that's occurred, the nervous system is at a heightened, accelerated pace, naturally. The adrenals are kicking up. We're going into fight or flight response. And when that then becomes a working state of consciousness, it cannot be switched back, because when it gets switched back or starts to relax, it doesn't feel normal. And then the consciousness doesn't feel safe anymore. So with the
that is me all the time. Oh my goodness. You just described me to the T, because my mind is constantly going. I don't know if you remember the old Bing commercials, but it would be like Bing, mom, and it'll go all these different things. Like I have a joke that it's like 17 people in my head and they all have something to say.
Yeah, it's a committee.
Absolutely. A small organization.
The committee is live and kicking after being horizontal. But the body is saying, hang on, I'm not quite awake yet. But the committee is saying, oh no, we didn't finish off what we needed to tell you yesterday before you dropped off to sleep. Yeah, so all that committee is doing is trying to solve a problem from stress. And if there's trauma events that are going in, and if the younger we are when they happen, it embeds deeper into the consciousness of the nervous system, right? So, you can have somebody like Dr. Phil saying, I don't really understand the adult child issues because you're not in the alcoholic family anymore, you're 50 or whatever years old. And that's because that was embedded into that consciousness for fight or flight response. And the later you get to some recovery over it and breaking it down, the more the pattern is then a natural kickstart for survival. But what happens is when that starts to get unwound, when the nervous system tries to jolt down, not in fight or flight, it feels unsafe. So how do you do something like that? Well, first of all, get that nervous system deep rest. So the physiology, if it gets that deep rest, because if you are like this, quite rightly so, you're not getting deep rest because you're on alert, right? That's natural. So when the body switches from the fight or flight response to the relaxation state in the meditation practice, then what happens is it's done very gently. And then there starts to be an imprint as someone has a habit of meditation, right? There is then an imprint very easily and effortlessly. Ours is like 20 minutes twice a day. And what happens is the body then can actually not only go in and get rid of some of that stress, because with therapeutic work or other modalities, people have already done the self-talk about it. They understand, and I overreacted because what happened was it triggered me to blah, 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 fill in the blanks, right? But does that stop the body from responding in that way? Not necessarily, because you've got to get down into the deeper roots cellularly for that to shift. And that's not going to be done simply by surface level of the mind activity. But when we go in with the meditation and get the deep rest, the body is switching away from not having to be in such an alert state. It can get rid of those ones that are actually ready to come out through all the therapeutic work, because there are some that are ready to go. And as a result, people start to look younger, right? They have less fight or flight response, and they're taking things less personally, because it's not personal. It's all about that person. Right. And we all know this logically, right? We know it's in our brains, but actually responding is different, right?
Oh, absolutely.
It's just, it's like saying, well, that woman or that man or that person, whatever we want to say, they've got it all going. Why did they end up dating people like that? And that's because there's a primal connectivity that's going on from before. And that's why people say, oh, you can't pick the ones that you love. You think you can, And so we're all here to sort something out and work on our path. But from a scientific point of view, having a practice that allows the mind to wander, right? Allows the mind to be free. Because most people think meditation is concentrating, right? And there are some forms. And then there are other forms that are called non-directive. I really like a study that was done in 2014, I think, with the University of Sydney and Oslo. And all they did was put people under an MRI and told them to meditate. That was it. And what they found was the conscious techniques, of course, had a concentrated part of the brain lit up. But the people who are doing non-directive, which is like the practice I do, not only did it light up more and have more equanimity with the left and the right brain, it really lit up areas that give deep rest and process thoughts and emotions. And so I thought this was beautiful because most studies, and now I'm going to tell everyone this tea, is that
Feel it.
they are funded by people who back that particular practice or that technique.
Mm-hmm.
So they have an agenda to only want to have those studies out and about. But this was completely different. It was just put them on the MRI. Right? It's so simple, and it can be found on PubMed. So I didn't do the study myself. But when that happens over time, the physiology can get a little bit of a break. And then the committee is there to protect us. Right? But what happens is we get into a loop. Right? Now, when there's an expression, if there has been an inability to express oneself, like as a child, right? That's what's very cathartic about people who love to go on stage. And I absolutely believe it should be taught in high school. You should absolutely have an opportunity to write, to express yourself, and everyone get up there and do that, because something happens. Something happens with that. But if you want to know more about the meditation, there is a free ebook that we have. If you happen to have Amazon Unlimited Prime, you get a free Kindle.
I do.
Download
I do.
Well, the link will be down there in the description box, and we will put up a little card sign there. And as many pages as you open the first time around, the nonprofit gets some credit. But it's the only publication globally that has true stories from people who learnt the practice. It's called Vedic Meditation Stories. It has not been edited. I wanted their words to be published in their voice.
I like that.
Yes, some editors or English teachers hate me. But it was very important. And anyone out there, you can please do that, and you'll get information about people's true experiences. Because we say a word meditation, everyone thinks you've got to do this. Don't get me wrong. I can't go anywhere without Googling or putting online meditation image, and this comes up. Not at all. You sit down, your eyes close, your mind wanders. I should really do a whole routine myself about how I couldn't meditate.
I cannot meditate. I cannot.
Well, that's what's wrong with that statement is everybody can. It's the idea of what we think meditation is that's blocking you. That's
gotcha.
I
want to learn this new way.
Well, I'm excited. That would be fabulous.
Yes.
So with that, I have to say we're kind of at the end of our cosmic chat. We really should be having a cup of tea and talking more. If you've enjoyed Asia, please put a comment down. Please subscribe. Asia's going to tell you to subscribe.
Yes, please subscribe. Please subscribe
and help out. Everything is for the nonprofit. We have live streams that are available, which has yoga, it has Reiki, it has breathing classes that you can go on to at any time that you want. Feel free to share and let us know if you want to have Asia back. And with that, I'm going to say thank you so much for joining us on our Cosmic Chat.